petite culotte, monsieur.
Au feu.
C'est tout mouillé. Elle est partie pieds nus. Elle a saigné.
Ce n'est rien, c'est le nez.
Va pas partir comme ça, tu n'as rien compris. Ne t'en vas pas. Mais c'est pas possible.
Hello, welcome to Movie Umpers. My name is Bob Sham.
Bonjour. I'm Angela.
The sounds you hear may be dogs, and we are on a European vacation this month. This week has been one for romance, and it's very. These are the last French movies, and we're exiting this week on a French-Spanish hybrid by a director by the name of Luis Buñuel. Luis Buñuel, he was 80 years old when he made this movie.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. You're making this movie at 80.
There's a lot going on in this movie.
And
a lot of locations, a lot of...
One of the weirdest, most unique comedies you'll ever see. This is a comedy that we're discussing today. But this was Luis Buñuel's last movie, and he'd made tons of movies. He defected to Mexico, leaving the Franco regime in Spain. And then after that fell apart, he was able to come and make movies in Spain again. So he made a lot of movies in Mexico, Spanish, Mexican films, and of course these European studios, they come together, they help each other out. So this movie is both French and Spanish. We have a Spanish lead actor, and we have two leading ladies playing the same role. I believe one lady is French and the other is Spanish.
It confused the fuck out of me the first time it happened. What is going on?
We thought we were losing our shit for a second.
Had to pause the movie and make sure we weren't crazy. He's calling this woman by the same name. You can see the images above us. They do not look alike.
Conchita,
their hair is always different.
They even behave a little different.
They behave differently. The Spanish girl is always wearing earrings and has her head up, and she's the more sexual one. She's in more of the lovey sex scenes. The other girl is hair down, straight-laced. She's the colder one.
What the kids call demure.
Is this about
That's what they keep saying over and over
how
again.
women are crazy and two-faced and you never know what you're gonna get?
Well, neither faces are coming up off it. This is the first ever European film featuring a middle-aged male European lead that does not get the pussy. So this is a pretty... I mean, you see a middle-aged European man in a movie, in a European movie, and you see beautiful young women, it's only a matter of time before he's going to fuck some of them.
That's the whole point.
It's the opposite.
Though
this is a horror movie for middle-aged European men who have money.
She knows that he's a playboy.
Yeah.
She knows that if she gives it up to him...
He's not a playboy. He seems like just a regular well-to-do man. He speaks of a wife that... We're talking about the movie That Obscure Object of Desire from 1977, directed by Luis Buñuel, written by Luis Buñuel and Jean-Claude Carrière, based upon a book called The Woman and the Puppet by Pierre Louis.
Ooh, that's a good title.
Cinematography by Edmund Richard and starring Fernando Rey, Carole Bouquet, and Angela Molina. Both of those women play the same character of Conchita.
Okay, you are correct in that he's not a playboy. He says at one point that he's been unable to have sex with a woman that he doesn't love, but you don't know how long he stays in love with them. You know, there is that little bit of, he is a charmer. He's very handsome. He has a lot of money.
Oh, you think
he uses his influence.
You think he's pretty hot?
I think he's a handsome man.
A handsome older man.
Yes. Obviously well-to-do, obviously very polite, but he wants this girl bad. And her fear, she says, is that if she has sex with him
before marriage,
which would be the first time she says she will ever have had sex, even though she's an extraordinarily sexual person, she's afraid he won't love her anymore. To her, this is the only way to keep him.
And from here, the comedy begins. The comedy of blue balls.
And emotional torture.
And emotional torture. And the movie is bookended, too, by references to a left-wing military group called the Revolution of the Baby Jesus or something like that.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, they're talking about how there's far-right militants also fighting and thinking they're fighting this left-wing group. Luis Buñuel fled the fascist regime of Franco Spain, which was there until the 70s, from the late 30s up to the 70s. A lot of the movies he made in Mexico were very much revolutionary type lefty movies. There's one I've been wanting to see for a while called The Exterminating Angel, that's supposed to be this very surreal take on class. Like, he's had that in him, especially in his prime back then. But now we're seeing an 80-year-old Luis Buñuel, and I think it kind of blew my mind that he was 80 years old making this movie, because there's so many, the humor here is so unique and so strange and weirdly entertaining, but also controversial in certain ways as well. When we see this guy, he goes back to this room with another man, our lead, and the man is looking and he sees like women's garments torn up. There's like someone's been attacked here.
There's a pair of panties that is wet. There's a broken vase. There's a pillow with blood on it.
The man comments that the woman might have pissed herself and there is blood on the sheets and stuff.
But the woman has left. And so the man says, let's get the fuck out of here. So he and his manservant are going to go back to France. And the man makes a comment about how he's so excited to not have to eat steaks cooked in butter anymore. They go and they get on a train. Then this woman shows up chasing him, and she's got a black eye and she's got a cut on her forehead.
She's running away to the same area where he's going.
I think she's chasing him. She's trying to get on the train.
But he sees her, and she gets off on the train like she's going to change cars. And then he pops out with a bucket of water and pours the water on her head.
He gave a man some money. I don't know if he gave that man money to kick her off the train so he could pour the water on her.
Or did he?
For the water.
I need a bucket of water. I need you to kick this lady off. I need a bucket of water.
Give me a bucket of water.
So she gets frazzled, and the train leaves, and she leaves her bags and everything.
She throws her bag and jumps on a moving train.
She gets on another car. Yeah. And so the man goes back to his car, and there's like a lady with some children, and there's like a little person who's like a businessman and another guy. And they all see that
he's a judge.
They all watched him dump water on this lady, and he's like, all right, hereby hangs the tale.
They do ask him why. It's interesting, his audience. I've been thinking about this. The first man is a judge. The second man...
He's like a professor, the little man.
Yeah, the first guy's a judge who knows our main character's cousin, who is a lawyer. Yeah. The second guy is a professor of psychology. And the woman is probably similar in age, maybe a little bit older than our female lead, and has a daughter. So you know she's been in a relationship before. She takes this in as though it is a novelization, like some crazy love romance story that she needs to know the next bit. The psychologist is definitely analyzing why he did these things. And the judge, he does look to him at times to say, well, was that fair or not? Is it not better to throw water on a woman than murder her? And the judge says, well, yes.
It's down to those two. And then he tells the story of them.
He says
coming
she's the
together.
Worst woman in the world.
I highly recommend watching this movie if you've never seen it. as we're going to talk about, we're going to oversimplify some things here, but there's some level of humor, like some subtle, absurd moments that often exist within the dialogue that are just so strange. And there's no way we're going to be able to cover it all to capture the level of humor that is just so subtle and intricate throughout the entire thing, based upon dialogue that we're definitely going to be breezing over here. The movie seems extremely simple on the surface. Like I cheekishly described it as, this is the story of a middle-aged man who, European man, his worst nightmare, he can't get laid by a beautiful woman in Spain or France.
But it makes him obsessed with her.
But he becomes obsessed. Do you believe that she was a virgin? I know it sounds strange because she's leading him on and on and on. Like, he gets robbed by these guys in the park and he sees her with him. Though at first we're not sure if the two actors are the same person. Mm-hmm. So we're a little confused at this point. But he gets robbed by a guy, but the guy is like, only need like 800 francs or whatever.
He needed bus or train tickets.
Right. And then the woman that we see him meet, when she's serving him, she's like a servant lady.
She worked at his house for 2 days. He hit on her the second day and she left before the morning. She went home. So at the beginning, yes, she does seem more innocent. She's playing this game with him where she keeps telling him, well, I almost wanted to be with you, but you fucked it up. He can't stop thinking about her. She leaves when he hits on her. Later, he gets robbed by these guys. He sees her. She tries to give his money back. He won't accept it. He says, just take it. He finds her. He asks her where she lives, and she tells him. And she's kind of being a little coy, flirty. But he asked her, why did you leave my house? And she said, because I didn't want that. She didn't want to be his mistress.
And she lives with her mother?
Yes. And so he goes to their apartment, which is a rundown apartment building.
They're pointedly poor.
But the mom refuses to work. She doesn't think she should have to work. She prays all day, and she doesn't want her daughter to work. Her daughter does work, because if she didn't, they would have zero money. Her daughter wants to be a dancer.
He's recounting his deal with this woman to people, and people are like, well, she probably just wants you for her money. And he goes, well, if that's all it was, she could have had it, right?
He gave so much money to her mom. Every time he was over, he gave money. He was bringing them groceries. He said in his story to them that he went to their house every single day for a month or 2 months. And at that point, they were alone. She was changing her clothes in front of him. She would kiss him. But if he tried to move his hand up her thigh, she would stop.
Yeah.
She would sit in his lap. And he was saying to her, you're torturing me. You're sitting on my lap. I assumed that because you sat on my lap, we were going to take this to a different level. But when she says no, he does back down. That is not always the case. Uh-huh. But at this point, he does.
Well,
and
he's
he
Spanish.
Makes a deal with her mom.
He's Spanish, not French.
He makes a deal with her mom. He asks her mom to come see him, and he says, if you will bring your daughter to me, I will give you so much money. And the mom, all of a sudden, this pious mom agreed. He says, I can't marry your daughter right now.
Yeah.
But if you'll bring her to me. So he tried to buy her. So she got pissed and didn't come. She sent one of her man friends, her little guy friends, to give him a letter that said, you're never going to see me again. He got so mad that she turned him down that he got his cousin to get her deported. His cousin's a lawyer. And so he got her deported. Her mom and her go sent to Spain. Then he decides, I'm just going to travel the world. He does that spin around and point on the map thing. And he picks somewhere far away, like Singapore or something.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't even go there.
He goes to Spain, and the psychologist in the train car with him says, oh, well, you went to where she was. And he was like, how did you know that? And he goes, because that's where she was.
They keep just crashing into each other over and over. They can't avoid each other.
He's putting himself in her path.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know it was because of him. So when she sees him, she's happy to see him. And her mom is happy to see him because they think they just got deported. And now this money man is back.
I said he was Spanish, not French, as like a very little joke about Frenchmen and consent. But I don't know if like old Spanishmen are any more into consent. But the lead character, the actor playing the lead character is Spanish, but the lead character is French, as played by a Spanish actor, and he is dubbed in French. So that's important to note there.
So is also our Spanish female. You can tell she's being dubbed.
Yeah, she really is from Spain. I'm pretty sure Carole Bouquet, I mean, That sounds like a very French name, right?
Yes, and
but
then
Angela Molina, she's a stunner.
Gorgeous.
She's stunner.
I got excited every time she was on screen
really?
because, well, yeah, she is gorgeous, but she's also, she's more vibrant. She's the more vibrant version of this person. Like I said, our French side of this woman is very cold.
The more French version of Conchita, she does seem a little more tucked in, like very soft, like almost like you could maybe take advantage of her. But there's a scene where he gets that version of Conchita in bed and he undresses her.
She decides to come live with him.
And she has like this like very tight fitting girdle knotted around her, and he strips her down, but she's got this like chastity cloth over her.
He's past the point of being understanding. He's being very aggressive. It's actually not cool. Because she's not being flirty about it. She's like, no, I'm wearing this because you're not getting this tonight. I don't want to give it to you. I'm not going to give it to you. Now, he says he tries to rip her underwear off for 10 minutes before he gives up.
Yeah.
And then he says to the people in the train car, isn't she terrible?
He says to her, this version of Conchita, the more quiet one, there are things that women can do other than just regular sex.
For sure.
And then she's like, who do you think I am?
He's like, just touch it.
Please.
She does not. He also goes one night to see her dance in the club where she has been working. And
it's like a traditional Spanish dance, and she talks to him. She's like, I'm so glad you're here. They make us take half-hour naps.
Because this woman comes to get her and says, come on.
Up in this room so we can have energy for the dances. And this lady.
I love this lady.
This lady, who's all about throwing all the tea around, says to him, like, you could tell that this lady knows who he is, mainly because this girl probably talks about him all the time.
She said as much.
Yeah. And she says, you should go up there and see what she's doing. And he walks up there and he sees her bare ass naked doing a private nude dance for all these Japanese businessmen and one American guy in the back.
He's their tour guide. He gets mad and starts flipping tables and kicks everyone out. And she says to him, you're going to get me fucking fired.
Qu'est-ce que vous faites ici? Dehors, tout le monde!
Who is this guy?
Dehors, tout le monde!
He says, we'll give up all of this.
There's another scene where one of the guys that robs him at the beginning, they separate in the house because he buys her a house. They separate in the house. And,
after this,
she goes back to the room, and the guitar guy comes in. The guy with the guitar that robs him early in the movie, he comes and actually knocks over a vase and goes into her room. And our lead goes up there and finds him in the room, and she's like, "Oh, he just has no place to go. We sleep back to back."
That's when she was staying with him when she was wearing the crazy panties.
Now this may be a bizarre. I don't know necessarily why I think this, but why do I feel like she was telling the truth?
Because I think she was too.
You think she was telling the truth?
I think that he was her friend, and you don't have to fuck your friend.
It seems. I mean, it's not about the like. It's not really about like the moral dimensions of it. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. But it just seems funnier if she's telling the truth.
I do understand why it's hard for him to believe, though, because he keeps finding her with these men, and that man was in her room.
That's the comedy.
Of course. But the shittiest part is later when he does buy her the house, he assumes they're going to now live there together, but he puts the house in her name. He gives her the deed. He gives her the key, and she immediately locks him out. Mm-hmm. And he is confused, and she says, "Now I don't need you anymore."
So she summons a dude that's in this robbery posse that she rolls with. She makes like they're having sex, but
they take off their clothes.
He ends up running off, but she says to him later when they come back together,
"We didn't really do anything.
It was all her performance." And again,
why?
I believe her though,
why? Because she's trying to make him leave forever.
I don't know why.
That's the
He
confusing
doesn't know
part
why.
because then
It's
the very next
insane.
morning, so he gets pissed and he leaves, right? And the very next morning, she shows up as the straight-laced one again. She's in this nice little dress, and she walks right up to his house and says, "Hi, I'm here now, and you proved that you love me, and that was all a game. Like you said, it was all an act, and now we can be together." And he's like, "Fuck you." And that's when they have the fight that causes the vase to break and the blood on the pillow, and who knows why her underwear is there.
You call it a fight. He beats the fuck out of her.
Well, they're arguing, and then he beats the fuck out of her.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not saying they physically fought. I'm saying they have a fight, and then all that happens.
Yeah, she didn't like get in a roundhouse kick here.
No, he brutalizes her.
Do you feel like he was justified?
No.
No, you're just this is because you're on mic. I'm against domestic violence. You're for it.
No, I'm not.
I just need you to come clean. But yeah, he whips the shit out of her, and then he leaves. It's done. It's over. And that's when we get the part where she goes to the train, he figures out she's there, and he dumps the water on her.
He thinks it's over, and the story's over, and he's sitting in the train car with them, and here she comes down the aisle with a bucket.
I loved it that everyone on the car, when they saw her, they knew exactly what was going on, and they were like, "Oh shit!" And he gets the splash, and they end up getting off the train together, but they're together, and they become walking hand in hand, walking through, and everyone's like looking at them too. Like they're just, you can tell that they've become the whole talk of this entire train.
Even the people who were in the train car with them, they left the train car first, and they were all looking back and smiling and waving as though these people had been a lovely, happy couple for the rest of that ride.
And then they decide to go to the shopping center, and I think are they back in France or Spain? I don't know. It doesn't even matter. It seemed like
they were going to France.
It seemed like they just left the fucking train, but they go into a shopping area and they see a lady, and I'm not sure what's up here, but she's sewing an embroidery on like a bloody nightgown.
It's a bloody nightgown, yeah. And I don't know what that's supposed to symbolize.
She had a bloody nightgown after getting knocked around.
No, she was wearing a dress and the blood was on a pillow. So that was not that. So I don't know if because it was a nightgown, maybe she did lose her virginity to him.
Maybe she did in that moment, or maybe it's like we're on our way to do it now. It seems like they are actually together.
Yeah.
She's constantly put him at arm's length, but it seems like they're but she gets mad at him when he's observing that. And then it seems like they are together, and then the shopping center explodes. The end. No, that's actually the end of the movie. The shopping center explodes. After he explained that he beat her up, I like when he turned to the psychologist and he was like, "Now that makes sense, right? Why I would beat her up." This is like the one instance where it probably makes a lot of sense, and the psychologist was like, "Of course."
That was insane.
Yes, this movie, I feel like I need to watch this one again soon. This one is just so unique, funny in such peculiar ways. Again, just the fact that an 80-year-old man, like you take all of our American greats, right? I mean, it's so rare that even like the great ones, by the time they hit 80, are putting out such original material like this. And the fact that Buñuel, this was his last movie. There's not many great last movies by great directors out there. Like, it's not that common. But Buñuel, who died only 3 years after this, like, his last movie was really actually pretty original and unique and entertaining.
Absolutely.
And it stands out, as I understand it, from a lot of his other catalog as well. So it's just one of the most unique romances. I mean, it is a romance. Like, it is. The struggle of it, the back and forth, the chase, as much as they hate it, I mean, he's driven, of course, by desire. You get the feeling that he wants to actually really take care of this woman.
And all these days they spend together, they're talking, they're getting to know each other. We don't see
have
that as
real
much, but we know it's
yeah.
happening. And there is a point where you want them to figure it the fuck out. But it's so erratic, and they're playing games with each other that don't need to be played.
That Obscure Object of Desire from 1977. Why were they playing those games? What is it with this game?
Also, whether or not she fucked him, the fact that she did that to somehow get at him or prove some point or see what his reaction was, that alone is fucked. That alone is enough reason to break up. I don't care if his penis was in your vagina or not. You were humping on the floor trying to make me mad. Why?
Yeah. Do you think she really did fake that sex?
She could have.
I think yes, because it's funnier. We're just trying to like fill this void of like the reason.
Well, she said the next morning, you finally proved to me I know that you really love me. You got so mad.
That she beat him up. Like that's how she knew.
He beat her up, yeah.
He beat her up, right.
The passion. It's passion, Bob.
We're going to give this 1 through 5 each combined for best out of 10. What do you give That Obscure Object of Desire by Luis Buñuel?
I think I'm a 4.25.
I'm going to give it a 4.75. You just never see anything like that, and that makes it a solid 9. All right, folks. That Obscure Object of Desire by Luis Buñuel. So close, it might as well be an S tier, but it hits a 9. And it is between the movies Tar by Todd Field and The Dirty Dozen. Also 2 pretty great fucking movies. Yeah, baby. It's at least as good as those, if not better. Who knows? This one could go up.
Yeah.
I don't see it going under a 9.
No.
But I would like to watch this again after a little bit of time. Because I ain't never seen anything like it. And it was funny. I did find it to be very funny. Check the show notes for links to other places to find us. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the bloody nightgown or any details that there's tons of details we passed here. Share your favorite moments from this Luis Buñuel late era classic. Europe continues. We're done with the French and we're going into the last week, which will be Norway, Germany, and Italy. So, yeah.
Au revoir.
Embrasse ma main. Embrasse le bas de ma robe et mon pied.